Hi, this is Michael Blalock, and this is my presentation on path goal theory. Path goal theory is different than other leadership theories that we've studied because the leaders are focused more on the followers. You're motivating the followers, which creates greater productivity, greater satisfaction with the followers, and it focuses on the followers' motivation. I have to also take into account, different than Blanchard's situational theory of leadership, the consideration of the work tasks themselves. And the style is chosen to match the motivational needs of the follower. The leader's behaviors must complement what is missing in the work to be able to get the setting to work best for the follower and help them achieve the goal. And finally, this provides the information and rewards that enhance the follower being able to reach their goal. The basic idea behind path goal leadership is that you first define the goals, then you clarify what the path is, and then remove any obstacles to keep the follower from achieving that goal. And lastly, you provide support all along the way. There are four primary leadership styles. First is directive leadership. This is where the leader gives explicit instructions, what is expected, how it's to be done, and when it should be done. The removal of any ambiguity sets the standards that are very clear, and the rules and regulations are clear. The second style of leadership is supportive leadership, where the leader is friendly and approachable and make work pleasant for the followers, make sure they attend to the well-being of the followers, and also consider the human needs. This gives them the confidence to succeed because they know they're supported by the leader and they're treated as equals with a great deal of respect. The third type of leadership is participative leadership. This is where the leader consults with the followers to get their ideas. They integrate those ideas into how the group proceeds, and it helps to increase the group's performance because all the members participate and they're dedicated to the joint goals that they helped create. And lastly is the achievement-oriented leadership. In this area, the leader challenges the followers to perform at the highest level possible. They set a very high standard of excellence, and they always seek continuous improvement. This high degree of confidence is exhibited in the followers because the leader believes that they can establish and accomplish those goals. The followers' characteristics within the work context, first off, is a need for affiliation. The leader provides a supportive leadership whenever someone is needing to be affiliated with the group. This friendly and concerned leadership is the source of the satisfaction. The follower who wants preference for structure will get directive leadership. The authoritarian followers are much more comfortable when they have this great sense of certainty because they understand what the direction is and where the goal is achieved. There's a desire for control in a follower, then there are two aspects to consider. One is an internal desire for control. Do they believe that they control the activities, what's going on? That type of follower will need the leader to provide participative leadership. On the other hand, where a follower has external locus of control, they feel like things are happening to them, then they'll feel more comfortable with directive leadership. And then fourth, the self-perceived level of taskability. This is where the leader will provide directive leadership until the person's self-perception gets them to a point of feeling competent in their abilities. And this directive leadership will help them to continue to grow those skills. Finally, whenever those skills reach a high level and the followers believe that their own perception of those skills are good, then you need to back off the directive leadership because they will find it to be too controlling. The other thing that's different than Blanchard's situational leadership is that you now bring in not only the follower's characteristic, but the task characteristics. The design of the follower's task, a leader must provide a supportive leadership that's friendly and concerned leadership will provide that source of satisfaction in accomplishing the task by the follower. You have to look at the formal authority system within an organization. If it is formal, then the leader will provide directive leadership. And again, authoritarian followers will feel comfortable with knowing there's a sense of that certainty. You furthermore need to look at primary work groups of followers. The leader will again provide support for these folks because the friendly and concerned leadership will be that source of satisfaction. And lastly, it's always important to understand that you're overcoming the obstacles so that through directive leadership, they're comfortable with, again, this great sense of certainty. In our case study in this chapter, the one that I chose had to do with a company that ran 3 shifts and had 3 different types of supervisors. The first supervisor knew everything about the way that everything worked, and his followers, employees were very appreciative of everything that he knew and everything they could provide. But the job itself was very monotonous. So he had to look at what the followers were expecting to be able to know what type of leadership style he needed to provide to them. The second shift operator was a very friendly type of person, took everybody out to lunch, but their job was a little more complex. They had to set up the computers to change the processes of what part they were going to be making. And so there was a lot of concern about needing someone to provide directive leadership rather than supportive leadership. In the third shift, the woman who was in charge of that shift really used all the different aspects of the strengths of this type of leadership, the path goal leadership. And she was able to understand when the workers needed support. She got groups together to analyze the different things that they were going to do and got their input. So she allowed participation and participative leadership. And she would direct when people needed help. She was supportive when folks were struggling with their confidence level. And she was able to set high goals for them. And this was the most effective shift of the 3. However, the one criticism was that whenever someone left the third shift and went to work for the other 2 men, rather than staying on the woman's shift, they had big struggles in being able to join these other groups. And that's because the leadership styles of the other 2 managers did not take into account the tasks and the needs of the follower. And the third shift operator was able to do that. So the basic idea, the strength of path goal leadership is that it looks at how it impacts the followers. It's based upon expectancy theory, and that comes from Vroom all the way back in 1964. And in expectancy theory, we're looking at how the followers are motivated. And if we can make sure they feel competent, then they'll trust that the rewards that they're earning will be theirs. And they expect something based upon their input, and the expectancy theory talks about that, which is really the basis of where House came from in developing the path goal leadership style. Again, the strength is it takes into account what the followers need. It is the first opportunity for expectancy theory to match up with leadership theory. And the other great strength about it, it is very practical. If you can figure out where you need to be, what the follower needs, how to incorporate what the task is doing for them as well, then you're going to achieve the goals. The weaknesses of it, of course, is that you have to figure out all of those parameters with 4 leadership styles, with the characteristics of the followers, those 4, and with the task, the 3 or 4 things that are there. It's very complex to be able to pick out the right leadership style, the right impact on the task, as well as take into account the personality of the followers to match that up to achieve the goals. The other weakness is that it's gotten limited support from researchers. And so there's a lot more to be done there. In fact, House in his 1971 article revamped it and went from 4 to 8 different leadership styles in his 1996 version of it. And last but not least, the one thing that it does not truly seem to take into account is the impact on gender on leadership. And so there's a great deal of work to come forward from that in the future. I did find an additional study with Dario and talked about the path goal theory of leadership in its application for corporate training. This was a very interesting study in how to improve upon corporate training in utilizing these leadership styles, as well as identifying the path for them to achieve the goal that the corporate education was providing for them. And so there was a really good opportunity to take into account the positives of path goal leadership and the ability to outline in a directive way what kind of training someone would need to begin being better at their job, to be supportive and creating the relationships of groups that work within that, and to set those high standards to be able to help people achieve even greater accomplishments in their training in the corporate world. And so path goal leadership is the next step forward after Blanchard's situational leadership, taking into account additional parameters. If you can identify what those are to match with the followers' needs, then you'll be able to achieve those goals.